On this channel, we talk about passports, and one of the benchmarks we use to determine whether a passport is good or not is the number of visa-free destinations the passport can grant you. If you see my explainer on visa terminologies, then you know what a visa is. A visa is the prior approval to travel, and it's gonna suck if you need to seek approval every time prior to your travel. Therefore, the privilege of being able to avoid seeking approval before traveling becomes one of the most important aspects of a passport, if not the most important. After all, a passport is a travel document, and the value of a travel document lies on whether it could make your trips easier, and the easiest way to travel is, of course, visa-free travel. That's why everyone wants a strong passport. In other words, a passport that lets them travel to as many destinations as possible without applying for visas. But sometimes it's not a matter of how strong your passport is, if your destination country doesn't even offer visa-free treatment. Today, we're going to talk about countries that have strict visa policies. And one of these countries are so strict that it requires a visa for everyone in the world. No one can go to this country without visa. Stay tuned to find out. Currently, the most difficult country to get into is probably Afghanistan, whose visa policy is unclear ever since the Taliban takeover in 2021. Right now, it seems that every non-Afghan needs a visa, including diplomats. But given the corrupt and unhinged nature of Taliban, I would not be surprised if you could simply bribe your way into the country. Not that anyone want to go anyway. There are also recent reports that truck drivers from the neighboring Tajikistan are exempt from needing a visa. I guess even Taliban needs their groceries delivered. What I want to say is, let's take Afghanistan out of the equation because it's just too unstable. Is there any other countries that's not overrun by terrorists but still strict on the borders? Well, there are a couple. Most of these countries are socially conservative and or economically backward, such as Yemen, which is one passport away from banning visa-free travel altogether. And the only passport that can bring you to Yemen without a visa is, surprisingly, Hong Kong for unknown reasons. But in addition, Yemen gives visa on arrival to 11 other countries, so
yeah, man.
The country doesn't seem to be completely antisocial. In comparison, Eritrea's circle of friends is way smaller. Only citizens of Sudan and Ethiopia are eligible to get visa on arrival, and the only passport that can go to Eritrea without a visa is the Ugandan passport. But Eritrea is nothing compared to Turkmenistan. This landlocked dictatorship is so unapproachable that it earned itself a nickname, the North Korea of Central Asia. Back in the 90s, citizens of mostly Eastern Bloc countries were still allowed to visit Turkmenistan visa-free, but that went away real quick after the Soviet Union collapsed. Nowadays, everyone needs a visa. Not even its closest neighbors, such as Kazakhs, Uzbeks, can get exemption. The only other country that's equally secluded is, of course, the real North Korea. As I've previously mentioned on the channel, prior to 2017, the only passport that can get you into DPRK is the Malaysian passport. That treatment was cancelled since the relationship between the two countries went sour. Despite requesting visas from ordinary citizens, North Korea and Turkmenistan are pretty open towards diplomats. People traveling on government business are still able to get in most of the time without worrying about visas. However, there's one country in the world that not only requires visas from every ordinary citizen, but also leaves no backdoor open for diplomats, UN bureaucrats, or heads of states. And that country is Australia. This is when you say, wait a minute, Australia is pretty open and free country. I went there once and I don't remember applying for a visa. Well, let me just show you a clip from Casey Neistat.
Are you gonna hang out in the bar?
You're
You gonna be there?
Yeah, I'll be there. Minor issue, did not realize I needed a visa to go to Australia. Emirates said they can get me one right here.
Depending on the passport you're using when visiting Australia, the visa processes are different. In Casey's case, he was holding an American passport. Therefore, he must apply for an ETA, which is actually Visitor Visa 601. We don't call it ETA within the government. Oh, in case you didn't know, I used to work for the Australian government. Anyway, the application process for 601 is pretty fast and easy. Most people can do it themselves online and get approved electronically in a matter of minutes. Unless you're flying first class like Casey was, then the airlines would do it for you. The 601 visa usually costs 20 Aussie dollars, lasts for 12 months, and allows the holder to stay in Australia for up to 3 months. For Europeans, they can also apply through the e-visitor system and get a 651 visa, which is about the same as 601. For most Westerners, the Australian visa process is largely painless, which is why a lot of people don't even know or remember getting a visa. But no matter how convenient the electronic visa works, it's still a visa, and it doesn't change the fact that everyone needs a visa to go to Australia, except for Australians, of course. It all started in 1994, when Australia became the first and only country that subscribed to the universal visa policy, which is a fancy way of saying every non-Australian needs a visa. And speaking of subscribing, now is a fantastic time for you to hit that subscribe button and smash that bell for more visa-free travel knowledge. Despite advertising the e-visa as so smooth, you won't feel its existence at all, which sounds like a condom commercial, the e-visa is still the visa nonetheless. Applications go through stringent examinations. As a result, Australian visa refusal rate is always higher than that of visa-free travel. For example, in Q4 2013, only 18% of e-visa applications filed by Romanians were instantly approved by the Australian authorities. For Bulgarians, that number was even lower, sitting at 16%, while the approval rate for Western Europeans were above 95%. Bulgaria, Cyprus, and Romania sent a notification to the European Commission asking for the Commission to end its visa-free treatment towards Australians if the problem persists. In the end, Australia promised to go easy on citizens of Eastern European nations, but it just goes to show how much advantage Australia has over other countries by using this system. The one country that's been taken the most advantage of is New Zealand, which has a bilateral agreement with Australia that was supposed to guarantee the right to free movement for both countries' citizens. However, since the introduction of the universal visa policy, New Zealanders have only been able to get visa on arrival to Australia, which is very different than the right to free movement. Meanwhile, Australians get the better end of the bargain as they can automatically become New Zealand residents the moment they set foot on the island and have an easy path to citizenship. Australia's weird interpretation of visa-free travel also applies when it comes to international obligations in multilateral treaties. For example, APAC business card holders are supposed to be able to go to APAC member states without visas, but Australia's interpretation is to treat the travel card as a visa. The end result might be the same, but the legal implications are very different. Speaking of differences, the only thing that makes Australia stand out from the likes of North Korea and Turkmenistan is that Australia is even more restrictive. As mentioned, VIPs such as diplomats and heads of states can still go to North Korea and Turkmenistan without visas, but guess what? They can't do that in Australia. The type of visa they need is called a special purpose visa, which doesn't require application or examination. It's automatically issued upon arrival based on the status of the guest. I know, it feels more like a courtesy than a visa, but just like any other visa, it can be refused and cancelled if the government doesn't like you. Case in point, the world's #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic recently got his visa cancelled twice and deported from Australia when he was in the country for a tennis tournament. I'm not going to discuss the reasons for his deportation or whether it was justified. What got my attention is the fact that Djokovic has been holding a diplomatic passport since 2011. Now, we have no public record on which passport Djokovic was using during this tournament and which visa he's on. But if he was indeed using his Serbian diplomatic passport, then he will very likely be on a special purpose visa. And the cancelling of that visa just goes to show that no matter how rich, famous, and influential you are, your balls are still in the hands of the government. Of course, Djokovic may still be deported even if he was in a country that offers visa-free entry. But Australia's universal visa policy sure is a handy tool to make life even harder for foreign citizens. The implication of Australia's visa policy goes way beyond inconvenience. I'll probably do another video on the problems brought by this draconian measure. Subscribe and ding that bell if you'd like to see the follow-up. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.